Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday, April 20th live stream for studentloanjustice.org. If you're new to the group, welcome. What took you so long? We are the oldest and largest and pretty much only truly grassroots group fighting only and absolutely for student loan justice for the first 15 years of our existence, 14 years. We were fighting very moderately for only the return of bankruptcy protections to student loans. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you that now post-COVID, as of COVID hitting actually a little bit before, the lending system is finished. It's failed. It's done. It's toast. And I'll prove that in a minute. But take my word for it for now. It is done. It's a dead man walking. There's no saving this lending system anymore. It's gone over the cliff. It's gone over the falls. So we are now calling on the president to cancel all federally owned student loans. End the lending system, replace it with something that actually works, something that's hopefully a little cheaper, but we're agnostic on what should come next. All we know now today is that the lending system as it in its current state is done. The loans will be canceled. And again, I will prove that in a moment. So if you're watching us on Twitter or Facebook, I will gladly respond to any questions or comments you might have. Appreciate all the tough questions as well, by the way, if there's any haters out there in the audience. I hope that you all are pleased with the appearance we made on Fox News a couple of weeks ago, where indeed we got at least some of the tough questions, not all of them. It was only like about a 4-minute interview, it seemed like, felt like less. But we love the tough questions. We've been sharpening this sword for many, many, many years. And so we love the tough questions. We love going into the lion's den. So let me say, we still fight for the return of bankruptcy protections. And that lies at the core of this problem. But the loans will be canceled, and that's sort of going to happen. But it's probably only going to happen when we get the return of bankruptcy back. And I know that sounds strange. Nobody wants to file for bankruptcy. Believe me. If we've learned nothing else over the past 17 years, we've learned that. But whether you would ever file for bankruptcy is not important. The founding fathers knew that the threat of bankruptcy was so important. They called for uniform bankruptcy laws in the Constitution ahead of the power to declare war and raise an army. Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, not the Bill of Rights, the actual body of the Constitution. And this student loan exception to their wisdom proves their wisdom in spades. This student loan catastrophe is exactly what they wanted to avoid. And even here today, as we speak, ladies and gentlemen, unless we get the threat of bankruptcy returned to us, the only loan cancellation we're going to see from President Biden will be fake. It will be fake. It will be up to $50,000 at the most. And in real life, what that will turn out to be is you get $3,000, you get $12,000, you get nothing because you didn't fill out your form right. You get nothing because you earn too much. Like that. That's how the Department of Education rolls. They will use any possible loophole they can possibly find to not cancel loans, as we've seen with an alphabet soup worth of repayment plans, public service loan forgiveness, income-based repayment, pay-as-you-earn, revised pay-as-you-earn, income contingent repayment, etc. 99.9% of everybody has been disqualified out of those programs cumulatively. So, as I said, if you have any questions, comments, throw them out. So today, I probably need to talk about what the news that broke yesterday. And guys, it's a nothing burger. The Biden administration, every few months, they trot out some new thing where they go, hey, look, we're canceling the loans of thousands of people. 40,000 people should get their loans canceled because the announcement yesterday is we're going back and we're going to count some payments towards public service that we weren't counting before, and people who are on over 100 days in deferment or forbearance we're going to go ahead and count those as payments, and et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not even going to go into detail about yesterday's news, because honestly, guys, it's almost nothing for almost everybody. You know, they claim that 40,000 people will get their loans canceled. That may or may not happen. But 40,000 people is nothing, guys. There's 45.4 million student loan borrowers in the country. So that's like the 0.4 of 45.4. What is that? That's like, it's nothing. No, in fact, it's less. It's 0.04. So we're talking like a tenth of 1%. And even then, there's no guarantees, guys, because the Department of Education, you know, they said they were doing something similar to overhaul the public service loan forgiveness program like 6 or 7 months ago. I've heard a few people getting their loans canceled, but I haven't heard anything like the 40, 50,000 that they've been advertising. And again, even if they did perform as advertised, it's almost nothing. It's a rounding error compared to the size of this problem. And quite frankly, I think politically, it's the stupidest thing in the world, because for every one person that actually benefits from this thing yesterday, there's what? There's 1,000 people that aren't helped, and it only exacerbates them. So they're probably going to piss off way more people than they help by doing this sort of nonsensical, piecemeal, tiny fix. It's not even a fix. So if you're frustrated out there, believe me, I'm right there with you. And we don't have to take this shit, ladies and gentlemen. So here's why the lending system is done. It's finished. It's toast. You know, a lot of people go, "Oh, you should pay your loans. The taxpayers should pay your loans, and I pay my loans. Why shouldn't you pay your loans?" And none of that matters, ladies and gentlemen. Here's a couple of facts. I probably say them every night, but I'm going to say them again for the new guys out there. Before this pandemic, 64.3% of all federal student loan borrowers were not making payments on their loans. That's nearly 2/3 of all borrowers were not paying on their loans. 80%, 4 out of 5, more than 2/3, 4 out of 5 people with federal student loans were underwater on their debt before the pandemic. So they were either not paying, and that's what I said, or they were paying and paying and paying. People like Vanjie, or I shouldn't have said her name, but I'm sorry about that, Vanjie. Some people out there who say borrowed $26,000 originally have been completely screwed, baffled, and bamboozled by the system. And today, decades later, have repaid $100,000 on this $26,000 loan, yet still owe $132,000 on this $26,000 loan. So 80% of all borrowers were either not paying at all, or they were paying and paying, and their loan balance was going up, not down, up. That's before the pandemic. Now, guys, let's put this in some perspective, shall we? The subprime home mortgage crisis, right? The default rate for subprime home mortgages was 20%. It was shocking, astonishing. We now know that the default rate for 2004 borrowers is 40%, double the subprime rate. And what's happened since 2004? Well, borrowing has tripled. So the class of 2004 was borrowing less than 1/3 of what's being borrowed today. So if the default rate for 2004 students is 40%, what do you think it is for more recent borrowers? Is it 50, 60%? Yeah, for sure. Is it 70%? You probably. Is it 75 or 80%? Yeah, we're getting along. We're getting close to something around there. And that was before the pandemic. You know, people have had 2 years to think about this lending scam. I think people have come to this very same conclusion that most people on our group have come to, which is, nah, I'm not doing this shit. These loans are fake. You know, we've seen trillions of dollars thrown out in the economy and stimulus, including in the form of PPP loans, which required a ton of money from the Treasury. by the way, at all added to the national debt, these PPP loans and the stimulus checks and all the other stuff, most of the other stuff. Student loan, federal student loans, federally owned student loans, which is 87% of all student debt, that could be canceled without needing one nickel from the Treasury, without adding even one dime to the national debt. So if you came to the same conclusion as me that, no, these loans are fake, well, not only are you not alone, you're in the very large, I would almost say the vast majority of borrowers. Before, as I said, before the pandemic, less than half, far less than half of everyone was paying. Today, almost nobody's paying. And people have had 2 years to think about things. So whenever they try to turn this lending scam back on, you know what's going to happen? Nothing. That's what's going to happen. Nobody's going to pay. Like, at this point, I'll be stunned and the longer they put it off and the longer they continue this repayment pause, the worse it gets for them. At this point, I'll be surprised if even 15% of the borrowers actually resume paying on their loans whenever they decide to turn it back on. So guys, this lending system is failed. It's done. It's toast. It's a dead man walking. It's a national joke. The loans will not be paid. The loans will be canceled. That is essentially a mathematical certainty at this point. So anybody wagging their fingers, say, oh, you should do this and you should do that, and my opinion is this, my opinion is that. I don't care what your opinion is. I don't care what any of those people's opinions are, truly. No matter what they might think or feel, has no bearing on the fact. People who paid their loans off in years or decades past, oh, I paid mine. Why? It doesn't matter. The lending system is done. The loans will be canceled. The loans will not be paid. Now, the only question really at this point is whether we get a clean death, whether we get an acknowledgement from the people in Washington, D.C. that are looking at the very same data that we're looking at and apparently coming to a completely different conclusion, which is ridiculous. Whether or not they will acknowledge the facts for what the facts are and capitulate and say, yep, this one's done. It's a goner. This one didn't work. We tried. We screwed up. Or maybe they won't even admit that, but whatever. It's a failure. And the best thing to do for all intents and purposes is to cancel the loans, throw this lending system on the scrap heap of failed U.S. policy experiments, and move on. I mean, if I was a Democrat working for Joe Biden, I would much rather spend potentially 7 years reinventing how we educate our citizens in this country. I would much rather do that than spend the next 2.5 years pretending that this student loan catastrophe is anything but a catastrophe. It's a catastrophe. So I think there's some good people on the other side of this fence from us. But, you know, that would be the good ending. Obviously, the good ending is that we get a good, clean, quick death to this lending system. I don't care what kind of rhetoric they wrap around it, but they just end the lending program, get the loans gone, start over again from scratch. That's the good ending. That's the one where everybody's happy and maybe some semblance of confidence is restored in them of their government. Maybe they'll be patriotic. They'll be able to move on with their lives and do stuff like, you know, start families and like start businesses and like buy houses and stuff. But this could also have a really bad ending, ladies and gentlemen. You know, the bad ending is that the lending swamp continues to defeat us. They do what they're doing right now, which is overwhelming the media with anti-borrower crap, just injecting their poison rhetoric into the national conversation again and again and again. I mean, if any of you who are on our group who've been paying attention along with me for the past at least few years, you have to admit that we've never seen any sort of defensive mechanism from the student loan swamp, I like to call it, like what we've seen over the past, frankly, over the past like 4 or 5 months. It's just gotten it's reached a pitch that we've never seen before. So that's a good thing. And that it shows us that we're getting very close, but it's also a bad thing because politicians can be very easily fooled, and that's kind of convenient for them. They'll say, oh no, I looked at this thing and they said that. Forbes magazine said this, so indeed, this lending system could possibly defy gravity, defy reality. And everything I said up to this point is still absolutely and completely true. But we're looking at, in that case, a years-long death spiral that you yourself will be the unfortunate living witness to. And it will be painful for everyone. We don't want that bad ending, guys. Right now, we've got a bill in the Senate, S-2598. It is the straw that will break the camel's back, put it that way. It will return bankruptcy protections to federal student loans with a 10-year waiting period, so it's not perfect, but it's certainly not bad. It is the first really good piece of well-positioned legislation that we've had to fight for ever in the history of our group. And the bill is being marked up, or at least it's in the pre-markup phase. Like all the important conversations are being had right now, this week and last week. So if you forget everything that I said tonight, remember at least this. If you want your loans gone, maybe you just want to break on the interest, whatever you want with your student loans, we've got to get the threat of bankruptcy back first, and we've got to get S-2598 passed. So you need to go to our website if you actually want to help and not sit and wait and watch and worry and be paralyzed and distracted. You need to go to our website, studentloanjustice.org, and you need to do at least a month worth of daily actions. You can see them right there. They're very quick. They're very simple. It's mostly Twitter stuff. So you can probably do a month worth of our daily actions in probably around 15 or 20 minutes, even quicker if you're fast. Like literally, guys, most of it's like retweet this, retweet that. It is not hard at all. You do have to have a Twitter account, though. If you don't like Twitter, well, I'm right there with you. But unfortunately, that's the reality. Okay, hey, I see we have some comments coming in here tonight. Hey, Evelyn and Lara Ferris is with us tonight, as is Sarah Dardick. And I see Terry Dodd. How's it going, Terry? I think we probably have quite a few other comments besides that I cannot see at the moment. But let me just get right to it. Okay. I really need a mouse. I'm right there with you, but unfortunately, that's the reality. Okay, hey, I see we have some comments coming in. That's me again. So Sarah Dardick says, see if I can get this in the right order. Well, first of all, hey, Leslie's here tonight. Leslie Fishman says, it still doesn't help many. Right, exactly, Leslie. The thing that they rolled out yesterday is nonsense. It's rearranging deck chairs on a sinking ship. It's just one more play for time by the Department of Education. Deanna Gregorian Belli, how are you, Deanna? Says, I do believe the cancellation will occur before November election. I agree. I think the timing of this is just too obvious not to be a setup where at the 11th hour, right as early voting is about to begin, they're going to say, hey, ladies and gentlemen, okay, finally, let the band cheer and let the confetti drop and the balloons and the parade. We are now going to cancel $10,000, or we are now going to cancel up to $50,000. Yay, vote for the Democrats. And as I said, as long as bankruptcy remains gone, that will come to mean almost nothing for almost everybody. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled, ladies and gentlemen. Please be smarter than that. Learn from our 17 years of keen observation. When there is no bankruptcy on our side, any sort of loan cancellation promise that the government makes is not worth anything. It will mean nothing. They will bureaucratize it to death. And quite frankly, in my humble opinion, I think anything less than full and total cancellation and the return of bankruptcy protections to all the loans that cannot be canceled, I think that's pretty much what the Democrats have to do at this point if they want to have even a hope of retaining their power. That's just my guess. I could be wrong. I'd be interested to hear your take. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, we are a fiercely nonpartisan group. I cannot tell you more strongly that is true. we pretty much, at least I pretty much hate both of the parties at this point. The Republicans are worse. They've always opposed us. That's true. Democrats say they're for us, but then they never come through. So I'm just tired of the whole dog and pony show. Both parties have colluded to make sure that we, the 45.4 million federal student loan borrowers, fall through the cracks and get wrecked by this unconstitutional, predatory, viciously big government, college enriching. I could probably throw a few more adjectives in there, but I won't. Lending scam. So Deanna, yeah, that's a very fair prediction. I would not bet against you. Deanna also says, strong point is the monies allocated to student loans at the time the loan was initiated. It costs $0 to cancel. Yes. I don't say that nearly enough. Deanna, so thank you. Of the 1.6 roughly trillion dollars outstanding in federal student loan debt, a small fraction of that is actual unpaid principal. The large majority of that 1.6 trillion is interest and penalties and fees and all that stuff capitalized and more interest on that and all that. It's nonsense. It has nothing to do with the original debt. The loans could be canceled tomorrow, again, without needing one dime from the Treasury, not without adding one penny to the national debt. And my best guess is that the federal government would be roughly breaking even versus what they actually lent out compared to what they've gotten back. Over the past 10 years, they've been at least booking $50+ billion in profit on this lending system. $100 billion a year has been clicking off in interest against us, and much of that has been paid. Although we don't know precisely how much, even the Department of Education really doesn't know because the loan history the Department of Education probably could figure it out. They could come up with a better guess than I. My guess is that only maybe a couple $100 billion of that 1.6 trillion is unpaid principal. So canceling all the loans and taking 2 steps back and counting, okay, how much did the government pay out versus how much did they get back? I think those are 2 roughly equal figures. So there's no cheaper, easier way to stimulate the economy, by the way. The question in my mind, think about this for a minute. Why is keeping this catastrophically failed, nationally threatening, terrible, dysfunctional beast of a lending system alive? Why is keeping this thing alive so important to the Democrats that they apparently are willing to throw away the party on this issue? Like, what's going on? Like, why on earth are they sort of what's the word, attaching themselves, like allowing themselves to be held hostage by this failed, by all rational metrics, lending system? What's going on there? Like, are the colleges really that strong of lobbyists? Are the lenders really that strong of lobbyists? Are the people are the unelected bureaucrats at the Department of Education really that strong of people? I don't get it. It makes 0 sense to me. Especially given all the stuff that I said earlier. The lending system's done. It's failed. 2/3 of the people weren't even paying before the pandemic, on and on. It's baffling, just baffling. Hey, Terry Dodge says, hey, everybody, the 40,000, Terry Dodge says the 40,000 that's going to get their loans wiped out is going to be under public service loan forgiveness. Yeah. What you said, Terry, we need to get S2598 passed and give this whole thing a clean death. Nobody can count on any of the public service loan forgiveness, the income-based repayment. None of those repayment plans are trustworthy at all, ladies and gentlemen. And you are an idiot and a fool if you've watched this lending system at any length of time, and especially after hearing the truth about it, where 99.9% of everyone has been disqualified out of these repayment programs since 1995 when they began doing them. Only a fool would have any kind of confidence. Like, you're pretty much like Charlie Brown. You keep kicking that football. You keep trying to kick that football anyways. And Lucy keeps pulling that football back again and again and again. Come on, guys. Don't be that stupid. Cannot trust any of these programs as long as the threat of bankruptcy is remaining gone from us. it just baffles me that some people just cling to the hope that they're going to get their loans canceled. And I'm like, no, it's not going to happen. The Department of Education has never done that. There's no good reason to believe that they will ever do that. And, the Democrats might make it seem like a friendlier program, but guys, please don't be fooled. Just don't be. The Democrats really don't control this lending system, to be in all honesty. Even the appointed guys that come and go every 4 years, they kind of don't really even control this lending system. It's the unelected, unappointed bureaucrats, the lifers at the Department of Education that carry really most of the power. And they will do their damnedest to keep this lending system going. And they will not cancel loans if they can find any reason not to. This is how they've always operated. And we don't have to take this shit, ladies and gentlemen. This lending system is toast. In my humble opinion, nobody should ever pay another dime back on their federal student loans. That is not only unwise, in my opinion, my strong opinion, it's unpatriotic. Nobody should be paying this beast. And I know we have so many people on this group that are walking around with their tail in between their legs. Oh, I don't want to have my credit record. I don't want to have my wages garnished. I get that. But guys, snap the F out of it. At what point do you take control of your life back from the U.S. Department of Education? There's nothing good about that agency. I truly believe the founding fathers are watching, looking down on us, and they are shaking their head and they're saying, how did our people get so weak? How did our people let themselves be conquered and enslaved by this cheesy rat trap of a lending system? I don't think the founders would say exactly that. They'd probably put some theys and thous and forthwiths in there. They'd say something like that, though, guys. Come on, we're a stronger country than that. Our forefathers fought and died for our freedom. This is not the freedom that they fought and died for. Every generation has their battle to fight, ladies and gentlemen. This one is ours, like it or don't. I'm an accidental activist, just like you, but you're not better than us. You got to help us. And you should have no fear, because the bad guys I have found, they scurry away like cockroaches when the lights are turned on, when we come around and start telling the truth. Like those 3 little facts that I mentioned at the top of this broadcast. I don't think any of those, 2 out of 3 of those facts are research that we uncovered. And it's never been reported in the mainstream media, which is baffling to me. We've broken stuff on 60 Minutes in the past, and the Chronicle of Higher Education, and Inside Higher Ed, and even the Wall Street Journal. But the media is really not our friend, guys, anymore. You got to fight this battle. These are your loans. This is your battle. And our opposition, like the swamp minions at Forbes magazine, people like Adam Minsky, who was on C-SPAN today. And by the way, congratulations, Gordon, for getting your comment on that call-in show today. They would love for you to do nothing more than sit there, be distracted, confused, sitting on your hands, waiting and watching and worrying and wandering around the world with your tail in between your legs, scared to even think about your student loans, much less do anything about them. That's what the bad guys want. They want you demoralized and discouraged. Well, I'm here to tell you, you should not give them the pleasure. Fighting this battle is fun. We get to tell the truth all day long, nothing more. And we destroy, eviscerate every opponent we've ever come up against in a fair public debate. We've never lost an argument, and we never will. So, hey, Sarah also says, I chose to stop pursuing the PSLF this year, even at my last count of 36 payments remaining, because I am tired of living in poverty on a nonprofit salary. I am so disillusioned about everything about this lending system. Not canceling at this point is either an act of willful ignorance at how broken and unethical this system is, or an act of intentional disregard for the best interests of 43 million Americans, aka, I would say aka the taxpayers, because we are all taxpayers. Oh, AKA the right thing. Yeah, right, Sarah. You put it far more mildly than I would. I basically say, hey, don't feed this beast. We're done. This lending system is toast. It's vanishing into a mist of illegitimacy as we speak. And if you pay your loans, not only is that unwise and, in my humble view, unpatriotic and basically shame on you. And I know everybody's got reasons why maybe they're gonna continue paying, but nobody's lending beast. Nobody. And if you do, you're kind of an idiot. But anyways, that's my humble opinion. You're still welcome on this group, by the way. But you're going to be in the vanishing minority if you continue making payments on this lending system. But I appreciate that you measure your words carefully, Sarah. I've been doing this for so long, I tend to be a little bit more blunt. And I do not suffer fools gladly, by the way. You're right, Sarah. You did the same math I did. 40,000 people is 0.09% of all borrowers. That's like far less than people who are added into the lending program every year, the new students that come into college. Susan Hartnett said, I'm going to try and just whip through these comments if I possibly can. It looks like we have quite a few at this point. Susan, how are you? Susan Hartnett says, I really need a mouse. Susan Hartnett says, not good enough. Compounding is stealing. All loans, federal loans, graduate loans, and bankruptcy back, no more compounding. Susan, I couldn't agree with you more. Here's another little known, never reported fact. I have no idea how old you are, Susan, or whatever. I myself am 52, by the way. But it turns out that there are more people over the age of 50 with student loans in this country, federal student loans, than under the age of 25. And the over 50 group owes, on average, 300% more than the under 25 crowd. Like, how ridiculous is that? And by the way, this is not Parent Plus loans that's causing this. If you take Parent Plus loans out of that data, then the average loan balance for the over 50 crowd actually increases. So it's not the Parent Plus loans that are jacking up these numbers. The Parent Plus loans are actually bringing the averages down. How crazy is that? Like, everybody goes, oh yeah, I'm not going to cancel the loans of these young snowflake professionals that don't want to pay their fair share, and they're snowflakes and kids and snowflakes and liberals. Nonsense. That the reality is completely the opposite of that. Not only are most student loan borrowers over the age of 35, not only do people over the age of 50 outnumber people under the age of 25 with student loan debt, believe it or not, more than half of student loan borrowers are Republican or independent. So these are not your liberal elitist snowflakes that are doing woke stuff or whatever the conservative media likes to characterize them as. It's not that. It's not that at all. It's in fact the opposite of that. And if you look at the states that are being worst hurt, the highest balance versus like average earnings, it's not states like Massachusetts or Seattle or San Francisco. No, the worst hurt states are southern red states. It's like a fist. It's Florida, Missouri, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Alabama, Louisiana, North and South Carolina. Did I say Tennessee? I said Missouri, Florida. It's like a fist, right in the southeast United States. It's like a solid Texas, solid contiguous block. So all the conservatives out there who are trying to paint this as a liberal issue is just stupid. I was on Fox News a couple of weeks ago, and they were so trying to like put me in the same box with Bernie Sanders and all this nonsense. But thankfully, and if you watch the interview, I think you'll agree, I blew all those myths out of the water with the tiny amount of time that I had. I couldn't make nearly all the points I wanted to, but hopefully I painted this as a very conservative problem that conservatives should be caring about. And by the way, if you want to forward this video to your Republican governor, or maybe if you have a Republican senator or two, forward this to them. They're idiots. They've been tricked. They've been tricked into making this a partisan issue and fighting for the wrong side. Conservatives, they say they're for smaller government, and they usually say they don't like the colleges. So any conservative looking honestly at the student loan problem should and would be on our side if they knew what we knew. Quite frankly, I don't think almost any of the governors of any of the states have any idea how much their people owe. Let's look at the state of Texas, shall we? People of Texas owe $141 billion in mostly federal student loan debt. What would happen if we took $141 billion out of the state of Texas, somehow ripped it from the clutches of like 4 million Texans, and most of whom are Republican or independent, by the way? What would happen if somehow we finagled $141 billion out of their asses and sent that money mostly to Washington, D.C.? Like, what would happen to the state of Texas? It would not be pretty, guys. I got an itchy nose. Excuse me. What would happen if we did that? It would not be good. The state of Texas would go down a rat hole, and it would be like Depression era stuff in the state of Texas if we did that. But it's not just Texas, guys. State of Florida, 120 billion. State of North Carolina, 58 billion. State of Georgia, $82 billion, which is a huge amount. A huge, huge, huge amount. The entire state budget of Georgia, by the way, is only 48 billion. Oh, by the way, the state budget of the state of Texas is 119 billion. So 141 billion is more than the entire annual budget of the state of Texas. They don't know that stuff. The governors of those states, Greg Abbott, Brian Kemp of Georgia, they don't know that stuff. And there's another 17 states additional where, and most of them are Republican states, states that I already mentioned. Most of those states are underwater. There's more student loan debt in their states than the entire state budget. So it's just jaw-dropping. We've got a very powerful set of facts that almost nobody knows, and they will never know unless you tell them. So Deanna says, call your state senators to support the bill, but if you leave a message to speak to someone, demand a response because you must log the contact you made. Yeah, I agree, Deanna, but I would maybe amend that a little bit and say call your state's senators, because all the states have two sets of legislatures. They have federal members of Congress, the two senators, and however many members of the House, but they also have state legislatures, usually comprising a Senate and a House, just like national. So don't call your state senators, call your state's federal senators. So there's a little bit of a distinction. I think that's what you meant. I just want to be clear. A lot of people are like, yeah, I talked to my senator. I went to a picnic with him and this and that. I'm like, wait. What's his name? Yeah, that's not your senator. That's your state senator. That's not Lindsey Graham, okay? That's like one of many state legislator senators. You want to keep that straight. Joanna asked Deanna a question, so I won't repeat it. And by the way, riffing on your question, Joanna, by the way, I appreciate all Joanna's very diligent daily enthusiasm in doing our daily actions. That's what everybody here needs to be doing, including you. You're not better than us. You can't expect anybody to pull your weight for us. That never works. It's never worked. That's why we've been doing this for 17 years, because more people haven't gotten off of their asses and owned this problem. So I appreciate it, Joanna, but don't expect to get a response. Don't expect when you call your senator's office that Ted Cruz is going to answer the phone. Hey, this is Ted. How can I help you? No, it doesn't work that way. There are staff members that take your messages, and often you don't even get through to a human person. Often you kind of have to just leave a message and hope that they call you back. The good news is, what I have found with my own senator, Ron Johnson, here in Wisconsin, is that, believe it or not, if you leave a message, a good message that makes sense, they typically will call you back. So you'd be surprised. But you've got to be strong, you've got to be firm, and you can't phone it in. Well, you have to phone it in, but you have to put your back into it. You have to put some passion into it, because these are your loans. This is your life on the line here. This is your livelihood. And nobody, not anybody, is going to fight your battle for you. Never. That never works. So, so Lisa says, Alan, don't get me started on PSLF, right? PSLF is like, I like to say, it's like it's an anchor disguised as a life vest. They string you on for 10 years, and then you find out at year 7, oh no, none of your payments counted, or yeah, the wrong kind of loan, or whatever. And, even the people that were made whole out of all this, for every person that actually wound up getting their loans canceled through public service, as I know Lisa was very fortunate to get done. And Lisa's still here fighting, by the way, to her great credit. But for every person that they actually finally canceled their loans through PSLF, there's probably 12 people who got disqualified out of public service, who got disqualified out of the income-based repayment program along the way. And they just said, fuck it. I'm not even going to try anymore. And so all this deck chair rearranging that they're doing today, or what they announced yesterday and what they announced last summer with the overhaul, is meaningless to the overwhelming majority of people who've been screwed. Again, I'm going to say it one last time. You can never, not ever, not today, not tomorrow, not yesterday. You couldn't, you can't, and you will never be able to trust any of these loan cancellation gimmicks, the public service, income-based repayment, income contingent repayment, and none of that. You cannot trust any of those programs as long as the threat of bankruptcy remains gone from these loans. As long as the threat, the leverage of bankruptcy remains gone, they're going to be able to treat us like shit and get away with it. Pardon my French, but that's what they've done. Every year, every decade, for the past literally going on 3 decades now that we've been doing this. Not that long, but 17 years we've been doing this. You can, for example, around 4 million people tried for income contingent repayment. 4 million people since 1995. Of those 4 million people, you know how many people actually made it through? 32 people. Like, you could fit them in my cramped little apartment here in northern Wisconsin if you wanted to. It's just ridiculous. So 32 people, guys. That's probably worse than even like lottery odds or something, right? That's how the Department of Education rolls, guys. The government is not a good actor on this. They're just not. So, okay, guys. We've still got a few comments here. Let me try and get through them. There are 2 numbers for each senator, a local number and one capital. Yeah, there's usually more than that even, Deanna. There's usually a DC number, and there's usually around 3, maybe even 4 state Senate offices around your state. I urge you to call both the national number and also call the office that is closest to you. You're more likely to get into a meaningful conversation with one of the field offices in your state. Lisa Unsell also says, behind the facade of culture wars lies a banking elite that is occupied by both parties. I agree with you completely. I would change the wording on that just a little bit. I would say behind the facade of the culture wars, which is so true. The parties are being occupied by the banking elite. So I think that's kind of how it's going. The banking elite have managed to capture both House and Senate, both Democrats and Republicans, some more than others, some less than others. But it is disgusting, ladies and gentlemen. And they use these social issues to distract and divide us. And if you've been on our group for any length of time, you know that we are fiercely nonpartisan. And anybody who comes onto our group and starts talking about immigration this or gun control that or abortion this, and almost any other topic other than student loans, we will kick them out. And I hope you can understand the wisdom in that. I know everybody's got passionate thoughts about various cultural and other social issues. That does us no good to allow ourselves to become a graffiti board for the culture wars. We're not doing it. Our political diversity in our group, we've got Harvard lawyers, and we've got people who went to truck driving school. We've got people who went to bartending academies, and everywhere in between. We've got from the most liberal side of the coin to the most conservative people in our group. And we all agree that this lending system has got to be fought. We've got to fight for student loan justice. our political diversity is our greatest strength, and we have been trapped in the partisan divide for too long. Quite frankly, we've got over 1 million people in our group right now. At some point, we may have to start a political party. I like to joke about that, but sometimes it's tongue only halfway in cheek. The two parties have failed us so badly, guys. You have no idea. So whether you're a Democrat or Republican or none of the above, you're very welcome here. We only ask that you park your partisanness at the door. Deanna says, that is good. Everyone you speak with can be educated on the loans. I have shared with many who did not understand how to set this. Right, exactly. There's a huge body of knowledge that nobody but us knows about. I kid you not. This group is way more important than you think, by the way, if you're new to the group. We were the group that started the petition before almost anybody was talking about student loan cancellation by executive order in August 2019. We started the petition in early 2020, which rolled the concept of canceling student loans by executive order into the public conversation in the first place. So that all started here with our group and all the people in our group that fought and fought and fought. So we're pretty cool. We're kind of a big deal. Also, we would not have bankruptcy legislation, and even more importantly, we would not have bankruptcy legislation to fight for, but for our group and the people on our group that have been fighting. So I know it doesn't look like it, but this group is the tip of the spear in the battle for student loan justice. And that's just kind of the reality. And so what we do matters. We are the pioneers, like that or not. We've got to punch a little above our weight, and we've got to take our role very seriously. Don't think you can sit and wait and watch and worry and eat popcorn and somebody else is going to pull your weight for you. I probably said that twice tonight. I'll probably say it one more time. Hey, Terry Dodd says, getting rid of these annoying student loans is the main prize, people. So keep staying focused and keep doing those daily actions. Bless you, Terry. I could not have said it any better myself. Don't be distracted. That's what our opposition wants. There's probably at least 1 to 2 hit pieces that come out in the media every single day now. 17 years ago when we first started this, we wouldn't see an article about student loans, but maybe once per month, maybe. Like sometimes once every 2 months, somebody would write something about student loans. Today, just on the student loan cancellation issue alone, there's usually 1, 2, 3 articles written, and 90% of those are against us. Huge amount of noise out there. And please don't be distracted. We got this. All the articles about student loans in the world, they cannot change the fact of what I said at the top of this broadcast. The lending system is failed. And what happens is completely dependent on what we, the borrowers, do, what we do. We control this lending system. Believe me, we do. So what Terry said, doing your daily actions, a month worth of our daily actions is the first and most important thing that you should do if you want to help. Beyond that, telling everyone about this group, getting them on here. There's no reason for us to be doing their work for them. They need to be here helping us. And if 5 people with student loans, 4 of them were screwed on their student loans before the pandemic. Whether they told you about it or not, it's true. They were. 4 out of 5 people were either not paying or they were paying, but their loan balance was going up. So 4 out of 5 people that who have student loans are losing sleep over their loans, even if they've never even discussed the topic with you before. So tell them they need to get here and we need them helping with us. Leslie Fishman says, lol, same here. Email just came through watching this, the irony. Green Party comment from Sarah. Sarah says the Green Party takes this issue seriously, at least on paper. For the past 3 elections, Sarah, the only party whose candidate we could support was the Green Party. It was Jill Stein. I don't think we endorsed her in 2012, but we did endorse her in 2016, and we endorsed Howie Hawkins, who's actually a friend of mine, in 2020. Now, again, we're a nonpartisan group, guys. If you hate the Greens, if you like them, I don't know. But I think it's pretty interesting that the Green Party was way out ahead of the curve on this one. And I will always have some good things to say about the people I know in the Green Party. I don't know about their stances on other issues. That's a different deal, but I for sure appreciate them being way ahead of the curve on the student loan issue. So Joanna says, wow, that was amazing, Alan. I don't know what you mean by that, but okay, guys. Well, hey, I probably shouldn't be going too much longer here. I think I've been going for about a half an hour. But remember, guys, nobody's going to fight this battle for you. These are your loans. This is your livelihood. We need you here. We need everyone you know with student loans here. Make it a family affair. Join your state chapter. Go to our website. Join your state chapter. Help get it going. Most of our state chapter have maybe 100 or so on average people in them. That's enough to do stuff. You know, if we can get even one Republican governor to stand up and say, Mr. President, enough. I, Ron DeSantis of Florida, will not allow my state to be conquered and enslaved by this debt. Mr. President, cancel the loans. If we can get even one Republican governor, it doesn't have to be Ron DeSantis. It could be Greg Abbott in Texas. It could be Brian Kemp in Georgia. It could be Mike Lee of Tennessee. It could be, Bill Lee of Tennessee. It could be Chris Sununu of New Hampshire. It could be Greg Abbott in Texas. It could be Kay Ivey in Alabama. There's a ton of Republican governors out there, guys, and every single one, Mike DeWine, Ohio, every single one of those Republican governors should be on our side. The governor of Missouri, all those states I just mentioned, student loan debt exceeds their entire state budgets, and there is nothing MAGA, there's nothing conservative about that. This is big government college enriching debt, and any true conservative should be on our side. I think we're getting close with the number of governors, knock on wood. I think the day is going to come quite soon when some Republican governors do stand up and indeed say, no, not doing this. This is our state's sovereignty at stake. You could be the one person that makes that perfect phone call, that has that perfect conversation, that gets that very first Republican governor on board on our side. I guarantee you guys, when the first Republican governor stands up and loudly and boldly tells the president to cancel the loans, which he can do with no money from the Treasury, nothing out of national debt, that's pretty much game over. We win, guys. That is a sea political change in this country, and we are right at the cusp of it. And you could be the one person that finally knocks that domino down. You could be that straw. So think about that. You have no idea how important you are. I will just reiterate, if you do nothing else, at least do a month worth of our daily actions, studentloanjustice.org. That's the easiest and best thing that you can do to begin. I would also urge you very strongly to like us, follow us on Twitter, and you can see the address right there. I would urge everyone out there to go to our Medium platform, studentloanjustice.medium.com, and read our most recent 7 or 8 articles. They're quick. They're like normal magazine articles. They're very quick, 800 words or less, usually around maybe 1,000 words at the most. Read them. There's a lot of unbroken, very solid research findings in there that will make your jaw drop. We need you to know those facts because nobody else in the country knows those facts, and they will never know unless we tell them. And I am only one guy, and Joanna is only one person, Leslie and Lisa, and hey, Edward McKinley's here with us, our fearless supreme leader, Ed. Ed says, not compounded, but capitalized. Huge difference. Right. When you add interest and then you add interest on that whole thing, it's the most powerful force in the universe, according to Albert Einstein, believe it or not. Albert Einstein said something like, capitalized interest is the strongest force in the universe. Those who know about it make it, and those who do not pay it. So Albert Einstein apparently was a pretty worldly guy. But yeah, guys, spreading the word, and I'm saying spreading nothing more than the truth, like stuff that people don't know, like what is contained in our articles on Medium, on studentloanjustice.medium.com. I may have said that wrong earlier. Studentloanjustice.medium.com. You read 4, 5, 6, 7 of those articles, and if you read them and understand them and digest them, they're easy to read. You will be a very capable, very strong, and effective warrior for this fight. And it is a battle, and it's your battle. And it's a battle that we must win. We're fighting not only for ourselves, but for 44 million other people in this country, and tens or hundreds of millions of people who are going to follow in our footsteps. And remember this also, guys, if they can do to other loans what they did to student loans, if we allow this injustice to stand, the future is dark for the United States of America. I kid you not. We could become some sort of a feudal vassal serf state, an indebted nation, an enslaved by debt nation. You know, John Adams said there's 2 ways to conquer and enslave a country. One is by the sword, and the other is by debt. And if we allow this student loan injustice to win the day, there's no telling what's going to be next. Could be medical debt, could be credit cards, could be, who knows, could be anything. But there's no limit to where they can take this unconstitutional frontal attack on the United States citizens and our Constitution. So there's a lot riding on this battle, and I kid you not. So you better get off your ass and you better fight. This is a noble fight to fight. I feel often privileged to be able to fight this fight, but I get nervous and I get worried when I see people out there waiting and watching and worrying and being lazy and thinking they're better than us and thinking that they can sit there and eat popcorn and cheerlead and this problem will get solved. It doesn't work like that. Never has, never will. All right, guys, I'll be back on Friday. Ed will be back on Thursday. Good luck. Godspeed. God bless everybody.